everybody. Welcome to the Authentic Podcast. I have the beautiful Bronwyn Holm with us today. So Bronwyn is the passionate founder of Earthfood, and what she's doing is just incredible because she's all about soil health, living microbes, and how they connect to everything, our food, our health, and even the health of the planet. So Bronwyn is she's a passionate founder of Earthfood. And she has a mission to heal the soil and transform the way we grow and consume food. And her work goes way beyond farming. It's about reconnecting people with the earth, fostering vibrant health, and creating a sustainable future for generations to come. It's almost a spiritual thing at a whole other level. A trailblazer in her field, Bronwyn challenges conventional practices, showing that healthy soil is the foundation of nutrient-rich food and thriving communities. Through Earthfood, she empowers gardeners, farmers, and homesteaders to grow abundant, nutrient-dense produce while improving the plant's health. Bronwyn's work is a call to action, inviting us to rethink our relationship with the soil and embrace its potential to change lives. Whether you're a food lover, an environmental advocate, or just curious about what's possible, this episode will leave you inspired and ready to make an impact. And I'm really excited to have you on, Bronwyn, because I had no idea. I mean, I knew that you had this cool product, but I had no idea what the foundation of it was. And particularly at a time when we're starting to, the whole world is starting to talk about soil health and how we've degraded our soils so much. And I know that I have a permaculturist or a horticulturist who comes and gets my horse poo because he sort of spends a lot of time improving soil health for, different farmers and all the rest of it. But yeah, he was saying that basically if we continue to farm the way we are, then we've only got something like 50 years, if that, left in our current crops. And they are our produce is so devoid of nutrition. So what you have is a simple kind of an effective solution to helping to regenerate and put the microbes back in the soil. So I can't wait to talk to you about this. As somebody who is a very lazy gardener, and I'm very keen to find out more about this incredible Earthfood product. So firstly, my first question is, because this is the Authentic Podcast, what does authenticity mean to you?
Authenticity. Well, I have become a bit of a soil advocate, and I'm a fighter for people's solution. That's SOUL. The people's solution with living microbes. The more I know, the more I can't sit on my hands. And my pledge is that until the day I die, I will be teaching people about health coming from the ground up. I'll be helping them save themselves and their family from organizations and products that are designed to hurt us. And whether you believe it or not, it is happening, and it's coming out more and more every single day. Doesn't matter what you're talking about, milk or dairy rather, or beef, or things that come from the ground. It's all affected. Our air, our water, our soil, our fish, everything's affected. And it has been because of the big ag cartels have been in charge supplying farmers products that have started this degradation. And you're correct. We only have a generation left of living soil. That's it's actually 30 years. The UN declared in 2019 that we only had one generation left of livable farming soil on the whole planet. Now, how did we ever get to this point? You have to wonder. It is... It
It
is
is
beyond my
crazy, isn't it? And
imagination.
well, it is crazy, and we're seeing, people are becoming more aware of the way the powers that be are interfering with our food food chain, food supply chain. So, I mean, at the moment, it's a huge deal. This Bovar thing, I have seen. It actually makes me smile to see so many dairy farmers and beef cattle farmers coming out going, "Oh, we're Bovar free. We're not putting Bovar into our cows," and particularly in the UK, those companies that have gone with the Bovaer reducing cow burps, like seriously, people,
You
it's
know what?
like
I'm going to tell you
cows
right now.
burping.
Yeah, so if you had
Yeah,
living soil in this, if you had fertile chocolate brown living soil with the living microbes, and every blade of grass has 40% more protein per blade of grass, and if the cows were fed that instead of grains, it wouldn't be what it is, what they're talking about now. Everything has been pushed to the improper way of being. So instead of working with Mother Nature, we're fighting against her, and everything that's designed to fix something up has been caused because the companies who've deemed this to be a better way, instead of God's way, now we're doing man's way, has created these problems, and now we're finding things to fix these problems, which create more problems and create more problems. I'm just going to give you a biology lesson 101 here, because if everybody learnt this in school, we'd have a far better way of looking after ourselves, and it's just super basic. Unfortunately, not many people understand it, and we're caught in the big ag cartel business model. So you have a plant. You spray living microbes on the leaf. Okay, you know I sell Earthfood. That's a product that's been around. It's been in the mix for like 30 years commercially, but it's been going as a practice since the late 1880s. My great-great-grandfather, Eggert Holm, was the senior winemaker at Hermitage Estate Winery, which is now Dalwood. And this is the very thing that he used to do. The difference of that time and now is that you had to use your microbes straight away or they would die, because microbes don't live in water, they don't live in oxygen, they don't live in the sun, and they don't live in nitrogen. Oh, what's that word I just used? Nitrogen? So now, are you listening? Because here we are, we're told to put NPK on everything that's from the ground up. So all we've done is made sick and dying plants. Let's go back to the leaves. We spray living microbes on the leaves. It changes the cellular molecular structure of the leaf. So a hexagon shape is a healthy plant. A oblong shape is a sick plant. Now, if I had a leftover steak or something and I threw that out into the backyard tonight, in the morning it's covered in insects, because insects are designed to clean up the sick and dying and the dead. So if you've got insects in your backyard on your crops or on your plants, you've got sick and dying plants or sick and dying soil. Now, people say, what about beneficial insects? Yeah, well, they don't actually attack a plant. They work with a plant. So they help to pollinate and they'll help to do little bits and pieces, but they won't attack a plant. They won't eat a plant down to the ground like a grasshopper would. Grasshoppers prefer a different kind of plant. They do prefer sick plants. I know. You ready for the rest of this? I know people saying, oh, what's she talking about?
Wait a minute, because when I tried to plant kale, I had this wonderful kale plant, and then these grasshoppers moved in and got very big on my kale plant, and I had no kale left. Are you telling me my kale was sick and dying?
Yeah, because
Wow.
it was healthy. If it was healthy with a high immunity, the insects wouldn't have touched it.
Oh,
Yes, there's actually
okay.
a video on my homepage, yourearthfood.com. Highly recommend people to go and have a look at it. It's where Farmer Jones up there on the Sunshine Coast is talking about his cash crop farm, and he's one of the key organic suppliers for the Noosa Tewantin tourist market, food markets, right? And he only uses Earthfood. And he says to me, and it's in the video, there's hardly a bite. And he's a kale farmer. And this is at a time when we've got cabbage moth season, and they eat everything, and grasshoppers. It's amazing. Yeah. So have a look at that video. It's on the homepage, yourearthfood.com, and scroll down to the bottom and you'll see Adam and myself walking over his crops. Now, if you've ever seen that farm in another YouTube channel, you'll see that in 9 months, what was at my knees and to my ankles was actually 2 meters above my head, ready for harvest. And that's including things like papayas, bananas, Cavendish bananas, all this Asian greens. And he especially points out that the kale, there's hardly a bite mark in it. And this is west of Gympie.
Wow. So, in other words, if farmers actually had good, rich nutrients in their soil, they wouldn't need to use pesticides. That's crazy.
Okay, so let's circle back to the leaves. Remember, we're talking about the structure. So so they changed the molecular structure in the leaf. Now they're going to change the stem. If you can think of psyllium, silica, glass. Glass has weight and guts, right? So if you have living microbes, you will have weight in your crops. You will have structure in your plant. It'll be firm and tall. So I'm a keynote speaker in hemp and regenerative agricultural conferences, and that's one of the key things. Everyone's saying that their fields are lying flat. Well, there's no structure in the stems. And if I could say to a farmer, I can get you nearly 40% more on your weight, that means that's 40% more on their bottom line because they get paid on weight.
Yep.
That would be of interest, do you think? Maybe. So let's keep going. So we've got these stems, and they're nice and strong with guts to them. So all your lettuces are nice and perky. They stand up. They don't lie out flat like this. And you will see the difference. Now, then the microbes go down into the roots. The roots become dense, thick and strong, and they produce the sugar for the microbes to live and survive. The microbes then unlock all the nutrients in the soil. What is soil? Soil is minerals. If I died tomorrow and you bury me, I'm 52 essential minerals that gets put back into the earth. Everything is minerals. How come plants can't have it? How come we're adding things? How come the God-given of everything in the soil is unavailable? Well, it's because there's no living microbes. Living microbes make it bioavailable for the plant. It makes tiny little holes. It's called fluctuation, and the tiny holes will absorb water and hold water. And you get free water. So if you have a hot day and a cold night, you'll have condensation in that much soil at the top. That's free water. And if you, and the microbes will also, come up to the top and they'll grab nitrogen and lock it down into the soil as they do with carbon. So, we're just about to start with a whole pile of farmers right now working on their carbon credits. It's not something I want to do, but we've got our backs in the corner and we've got to start helping farmers make a difference. So we're breathing in 78% nitrogen right now. That's the same nitrogen that's part of what the microbes work with. It's called atmospheric nitrogen. All these technical terms. And So you don't need to add it. It's already there. It's a God-given thing. We just got to stop pushing the agenda. So here's what's happened. If this is the eating structure of the plant, well, what's happening with the drinking structure? The drinking structure that goes up, what is that? What is it for? Oh, for water? Spot on. So why is it that everything we're buying on those shelves, particularly the green shed with the red hammer, is water soluble? Because it goes up the drinking structure, and right there you have a sick and dying plant. So if you've got a sick
so when you say what we're buying from these great big stores, you mean the kind of fertilizers and things that we're buying? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, everything. So I can tell you some brand names, which I can't because we're on a public forum.
Yes, no, don't do that.
No, I'll end up in jail for sure.
Yeah, and I prefer not to be sued within an inch of my life. Thanks very much.
But I
hope
can
people
talk
can read
about
between the lines.
most of them are trademarks, and most of them are just versions of each other, and they all do the same job, and that's to create a sick plant. So if you have a sick plant, what happens?
It sounds like the basic rule of thumb is don't buy the highly mass-produced stuff that's available from these great big outlets. Buy stuff that has a lot more integrity and that actually has a science behind it that is all about giving the plants and the soil what it needs to create healthy plants. And I remember we had a conversation before we got on the podcast, and you mentioned that everybody's talking about how bad big pharma is, but what about big ag? And I'd really like you to talk about, without getting thrown in jail, I'd really like you to talk about the way the industry has embraced the big ag mass produced fertilizers and all the rest of it, because I don't know if I told you this story. I know I told it recently, but up in northern Queensland, there's a couple of ladies who they're actually collecting these frogs that have they're so sick. They have these awful tumors and they're really deformed and they're horribly sick out of the creeks, because the farmers are putting all these pesticides and all these fertilizers that are mass produced by the big companies that often produce, the same companies that produce the fertilizers are the companies that produce the poisons. And these are being washed into the creeks and they're killing our environment, the ecology. They're so, as you said, it's kind of like it's anti-earth, it's anti-human, it's anti-food, like, and the farmers, sorry, I'm ranting a bit, but the farmers sort of say, well, this is the only cost-effective way for us to produce the crops, so we're not giving up these products because otherwise nobody's paying us enough to do the good stuff.
Well, I got to tell you right now, we've got 15 farmers a night not going home. So they can't face what's on the computer, they can't face their families, they can't walk the dirt they've inherited from generational years or the legacy they bought for their future generations. And we do have 5 farmers a month successfully leave the planet. Every month, on average. I know. When I first heard, I was actually in a meeting with a pile of farmers talking about helping them to be getting out of this issue. I burst into tears. And I just thought, I'm old enough to be retired and to go and do something completely different, but there's not a snowflake's chance in hell I can do that now. It's just too big a job, It just upsets me so much. I've just come across, I have farmers talking to me at midnight in tears. And I asked them, please promise me you're going to be there at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning when I call you. I will help you. I can help you, and it won't cost you a thing. And the thing about farmers, I'm not talking about the organic cash crop farmers, because they're kind of like on it, and they're working with regen people and carbonate and, all the Helen McClusker scenarios and the regenerative agriculture. And look, that's all fine if you've got the time and the money and the labour, and if you've got the capability to reach one side of your boundary of fence to the next. What you can do in regenerative agriculture, we do in 18 months, even less. But, are you going to go out there and turn a pile of horse manure with other inputs and then make sure that that's broken down and turn it into teas and then add it into this and then you and your mates, whoever they are, with their shovels and their little bobcatty things and all the rest of it, you're not going to do it. And neither will most of the people around here, and neither will a huge farmer, neither will a beef cattle grazer or a dairy farm. They're not going to do it. It's only good to bang on about these things when it suits the occasion. Most occasions, it's not suitable. So these farmers, okay, I'm just going to circle back to the biology, because this is actually the point of it all. So I gave you the biology of the plant to be healthy, but when you've got this input going up the drinking structure, now you've got insects. What happens there? Oh, we'll go and get an insecticide. Now, it doesn't matter whether you've got a cactus with gnats in the potting mix, which, by the way, potting mix has gnat larvae in it when you buy it, and weed seeds. That's part of the business model. Unbelievable, but true. Check it out. So you can have a cactus beside your laptop, or it could be 100-acre monocrop, or a 50-acre hemp farm. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. So if you've got insects, you're going to get an insecticide. Then next thing you notice, you get weeds. Then you're going to get a herbicide. Have you ever noticed the more you try to get rid of weeds, the more weeds you have to get rid of?
Mm-hmm.
Because Mother Nature put them there for a reason.
I've definitely noticed that. It's like the curse.
Well, it's because Mother Nature is saying, hey, I need something in this top layer to hold my skin on my body, because without this, I'm going to be Venusificated. There's that word again. Venus. You know what Venus, nothing grows on Venus? Well, that's where we're heading. Yeah. So Mother Nature puts the weeds in, the pesky weeds, not the beneficial weeds. They take slower and longer to mature. The pesky weeds, they'll grow quickly, they'll spurt their seeds out, and then they'll die quickly to make cover. And then the new ones will come up and more, and it's just like the cycle of trying to get cover over the skin, the soil, the dead dirt, actually. By the time you've got pesky weeds, you've got dead dirt with no living microbes. So then you get a herbicide. The herbicide is designed to dry things out. So it's going to dry out the weeds, but it dries out your soil biome, kills your bees, kills your covers, gives your dog cancer, tumours, because it walks in it and it licks its spores later. It'll kill, if it's sprayed at a time when a flock flies over, they will die. Most people spray with a full hazmat outfit on, so why are we eating it within like 5 days later? There's no particular cleaning off process, just a bit of a wash. But anyway, let's move on. So when we have that, now we've got dead dirt. Nothing's going to grow in that. You can try all you like, and that's why people say it needs NPK, it needs mineral rocks from Vietnam, it needs this kelp tea, it needs this, but all that stuff is designed to go up the drinking structure of the plant. So you just keep going around and around in the same vicious circle, making very wealthy organizations more wealthy, and the farmers are left holding the can, or you're left having a garage full of product that you only use once or twice, and it's still sitting there 10 years later. How many people have
So
got
if I were
that?
to read between the lines with what you're saying for traditional agriculture and food production that we have now, the kind of products that are being sold to the farmers are perpetuating this cycle in a very deliberate fashion. As a lot of people, if we go back to the analogy with Big Pharma, a sick child is worth a fortune to Big Pharma. So
Yeah, and they're the same shareholders.
their profit model is sick people. So the profit model of Big Ag is plants that are not complete in their structure and their ability to endure pests and to
Yeah.
grow without all the weeds and all that kind of stuff. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and look, I can split this conversation up in about 4 different ways. So, okay, let's talk about the chemicals. We've got organophosphorus and glyphosate. And glyphosate has a active ingredient called formaldehyde. If you've had a grain today, toast, pasta, a cake, anything that's made from wheat and oats and such, that's not organic. You've been microdosed. You've been poisoned, microdosed every day, every meal. And eventually it's going to catch up with you in your nervous system. So if you've got an autoimmune disease, Alzheimer's, ADHD, things that relate to your bowel or dementia, the list is long. We all know them. Allergies, gluten intolerance, all this stuff. This is not from the food, good food. It is actually from the chemicals that have been sprayed on our food for the last 100 years. So we didn't have a lot of these diseases 3 or 4 generations ago. We have them all now. In fact, children have them more than ever. So we've got the organophosphorus, which hardens up the soil as well. So it makes it more difficult to grow. And they say you need to have more phosphorus. And this particular type of one is quite severe on reshaping the DNA. We have GMO food. So look at the shops. We've got seedless tomatoes, seedless watermelons, seedless grapes. Now we have potatoes without eyes. Heaps and heaps. The seeds, if you go to a retail outlet, a big one, and you buy their seeds, they're all dipped in neonicotinoid. That's a human carcinogenic solution, and that's designed so that these seeds are to not regrow seeds for the following generation of growth. So an example is, I'll buy tomatoes, and then the tomatoes will grow, and then I take the seeds out of those tomatoes to grow new seeds. Well, it will not grow. And in fact, under this business model, you'd be lucky to have a first generation. And that's the idea of it, is that you continually fail in your growing capacities to the point where you don't want to give it a go. Like, you remember back when COVID was around, every man and his dog started a garden. But where are those gardens now? I can tell you, I can go along footpaths in suburbia, and out on the footpaths are all their pots, all their garden bed equipment, all their, half-used potting mix, whatever. It's all, people have given up because they think it's them. They think, oh, I don't have a brown thumb. I've got a brown thumb. I can't grow a thing. My sister's got a green thumb. She grows everything. You've heard these stories before. It's nothing to do with you. It's to do with the tools and the equipment and where they've come from. It is a problem.
Wow.
And
That's
even
crazy.
if you...
I know that I bought them online. I bought seeds that were like multiple generation seeds or something. I can't remember what term they
Heritage,
used, but
heirloom.
Heritage seeds.
Yeah.
Yes, heirloom seeds. That was it. Heirloom seeds. Yes.
And they're the right
So,
ones to use.
okay. All right. So, let's talk about that, because we know that there's quite a lot of concern around certain groups about our food security, about our food supply chains, and the contamination in our foods, all this kind of stuff. So a lot of people are looking to grow their own, gardens. This is so embarrassing, Bronwyn, but this is why I'm excited to talk to you, because I got all excited. I was one of those people. I got all excited, and I bought 5 raised garden beds that I've got out the back, and they're full of soil and my horse poo and all the rest of it, but they're devoid of plants because I'm so lazy.
And that's not
I've got
uncommon.
all the seeds are sitting there, and I feel so guilty because I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go and plant the seeds.
No, it's because we look, in a nutshell, the living microbe will rehab all that dirt or potting mix or whatever you've put in there. So it's not going to be good, whatever is in there. And even if you use big hucks of horse manure, right, they'll help break it down. And so you're going to have to ask yourself, what did your food eat to become food? What's in the tissue culture? So if it's growing, I can't grow food on your desk. I can't put a seed on your desk and it's going to grow into something. No, it has to grow in something. So if it's growing in chemicals, you're actually eating chemicals. It's part of the tissue culture. And when you have GMO'd seeds, it's changing the DNA. So we are what we eat. If you're eating food that has nothing in it to support your ancient gut and brain health, or help your DNA to rebuild itself, and our whole bodies it rebuilds itself every 12 months or something. I don't know. For a liver it's 6 months, for an eye it's 3 weeks. I don't know, whatever it is, you can look it up, but it's something. Every single part of us, even our hair, this is all dead, but what's coming out and where it's come from, that's living. And our nails are dead, but everything that's around it is living. Everything's replaced. Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, if it's eaten with big hunks of manure that hasn't been broken down, because there's a whole bunch of greenwashing out there that tells people, oh, you need to use this, you need to, and it is very organic, but have a listen to this. If it's manures that hasn't been broken down, they're full of nanoparasites, and these are thinner than a strand of DNA, and they're so small they'll actually cross the blood and brain barrier. And that's how there is this massive influx in humanity of parasitic sicknesses. And that could be a lot of things. We're a sick and tired humanity just based on this one thing alone. And I think I'm talking
so
to
you're saying I shouldn't be putting manure. I shouldn't be putting manure in my soils.
I wouldn't be putting them in your garden if you're making soil, which just sounds like what you'd like to do. I would be making it somewhere else and breaking it down by adding your other debris, your other raw composted materials. Throw some Earthfood living microbes in there to help break up. I don't know, what are you using? You cleaned out the lantana down the back, chop it up, throw it in the mix. You've cleaned out your gutters. That's fantastic soil material. Push that through. If you've bit of lawn clippings, or you'd like to break that up too because it gets a bit hot, but that's good. A lot of people don't realize, if you don't get your temperatures up between 57 and 62 degrees, you've created a pathogenic system, not a healthy organic system. And if you
Wow.
Yeah, and the beneficial bacteria can go from 62 to 67, no problems, because the yucky
Wow.
ones
Okay.
don't have that resilience. I know.
Yeah.
It's
So that's the benefit. That's the benefit of having a hot compost, is it kills all those nasty.
Yeah. So a lot of people have those
microbes.
compost bins that you rotate. Make sure it's in the sun so you get some heat in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Earthfood is the same as what you'd expect in a rainforest soil. So it's with living microbes in the soil. It should be cool to touch, moist, and sweet to smell. And that, you know, you go into a deep rainforest. So I just came back from Cairns and I was walking through some very deep rainforest up there. And you could almost feel the wet air on my face. And that's because of the environment, but the moisture in the soil is what keeps everything alive, and it's the living microbes. So Earthfood is a bit like rainforest in a bottle. I've got one here. So this is my party trick. So I breathe this in. Now you can't do that in those big retail hardware stores. Now I just breathed in my bacteria vacui. That is a natural antidepressant. So two things I want to say. Yeah. So you know how people, they work hard in the garden and they come in and they have a shower and they actually feel rather good. It's not the fact that they've just done something. It's the fact they're breathing this in because they would have probably had some good soil because they look after it. The other thing is that this has a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz. This bottle here, and we tested on a bioresonance machine. And it's the same as a big crystal. So if you sprayed this out on your lawn, for example, it's like you could lie on there, like lying on a big crystal, and it can reset your nervous system in 20 minutes just by lying there or sitting there. Because what I've said this before, it's a God-given thing. It's meant to be. This is how it's supposed to be. You know, like in the, I don't want to sound too religious here or anything, but there's so many references for this in the Bible. And one that stands out to me is the book of Jeremiah, where he says, I gave you a Garden of Eden and you treated it with abomination. I was like, hell yeah, haven't we what? Because the Garden of Eden is with the living microbes. And I can tell you, you know, I've been on a speaking tour, you know, around Australia, different parts. I haven't been in my garden for about 6 weeks, really. Just only need to water it for 1 hour because it holds water. And I just have it sprayed with Earthfood, so once every 3 weeks. I went down there yesterday. I'm almost going to need a machete to get through to the tomatoes. It is like a Brazilian forest down there, rainforest.
Wow.
And this is just a suburban backyard, and look, anyone can do it. I am not a fancy gardener by any means. I am the world's laziest. I beat you. I haven't got time. I work 7 days
I
a week.
wouldn't go that far, Bronwyn. Seriously, I wouldn't go that far, but okay.
Well, working 7 days a week, 15-hour days. I do my harvest before dinner under floodlight at night. I just throw my seeds in. I actually have no special care at all because I don't have to, because the leverage is in the living microbe. And for all the farmers, if you are listening to it, this is your crop saver. This is you don't. And we work with farmers where they have to keep using the conventional programs that they've started. And then we can actually add this into their existing program and they get like at least a 15 to a 20% increase in yield. But if they go cold turkey, which they won't, because, you know, it's their livelihood, they have to do it because everything's banked on this, we can go up to 40%. And that brings me to another subject. Who or what is owning the land? So if farmers are the custodians right now, and most of them have to get like $250,000 or $500,000 to replant, therefore, the banks have a say, and it's the bank's agronomists will also have a say. So you might like to grow something really healthy and different, like a different kind of crop. But the agronomists will say, oh, well, we think you better stick with sorghum because basically if you go broke, we know how we can sell that and we would do all right and we'd on-sell the land, basically. I'm just being really facetious there, but that's pretty much what happens. So here we've got this.
You've just got to follow the money all the time, don't you? You have to follow the
terrible.
money. And
so the farmers are destined. They're destined to fail. And right now, when I was down in Canberra, I was talking to these farmers and they were absolutely beside themselves. And they said, we're in trouble here. The whole of Australia is running around 4 pH, should be 6. And I said, well, that's not here too. It's in America and in the
That's
UK
the
and
acidity of the
Ireland.
soil. So four is incredibly acidic. So you're saying that the soils are running at an acidity of 4 instead of an acidity of 6. Is that correct?
And it's not well. It's not well, and it's not growing. So farmers are not growing anywhere near what we grew in the 60s and the 70s here. What we're left with is struggling crops. Doesn't matter what product is being used or what kind of agronomist with their high-paid advice or some sparkly new thing from a university that you need a Wi-Fi on in the middle of nowhere. It is an abomination. And we've reached this point.
Let's talk about, because you're all about providing the solution. So when you talk to farmers and they're feeling desperate and they feel like they have nowhere to go, they don't have a solution, they don't know how to fix this, they've got these programs that they've been kind of ushered into.
Yeah.
How do you find when you get these, and home growers as well, when you get them onto this Earthfood product, how quickly do you see this starting to turn around, as in the microbes returning to the soil starting to regenerate? Because obviously it's been decades of this kind of farming on a commercial scale. So how quickly do you see the soil starting to be replenished?
You will see changes in about four weeks. And you can see really big changes in 4 months. The magic moment, it's called unexplained science, is at 9 months. For some reason, it's almost like we've gone full tilt to the way it's supposed to be. Now, we just came back from overseas where we were invited to have, to put forward a proposal for a mine, end-of-life mine, that was a rainforest. It was 21,000 hectares, and now it's just a bare rock covered in sulfuric acid. So, well, this is the world we live in. So we're only going to be using living microbes to repair it. So how does this work? Well, rock has pores. The microbes get in the pores, they start breaking it down. That's their job. They are the cleaner-uppers around the world. They are the cleaner-uppers of our body. So if you've got the microbes sprayed in the rock, and we do that because it's a big job, right? So we're doing that by helicopter, and it's like once every 4 weeks. And at the end of 8 months, we will then start spraying our native seeds on the site because we will already have a protection on there. And in 18 months, which is 2 times the 9 months, 2 times, you will have the beginnings of the rainforest again. It's very fast.
Wow, that's extraordinary. That's extraordinary. So, I mean, I'm thinking of this on a much grander scale. If you think about, they talk about the Amazon rainforest and how the devastating way that they've been hacking into the Amazon rainforest, the farmers over in the Amazon, because they need to use the land to produce so they can survive. So they don't care about the lungs of our planet. And they're saying that these Amazon rainforests, those parts of the Amazon rainforest will never recover. In fact, they could recover if we just restored the microbes, the proper microbes to the soil. Yeah?
Yeah. So here's the problem we have right now. And this is what I actually got in touch with one of the leading forces here in Australia. It's called Australian Organics. And so just to let you know, we're 100% USDA OMRI EcoCert, Southern Cross organic, 100% certified organic. We're also organic, Australian Organics. We're Carbon 8 standards, Regenerate standards. We're international harmony code for export. We have we're in International Vegan Association approved. We're International Trade Association approved. So this is not a little thing we just do in the back garage, fill up a few bottles, fingers crossed we'll hope make $1 million by the end of the year. It's nothing like that at all. In fact, those little things along there, that's $1 million worth. So, and each one of those is a 2-week trial somewhere by some third party to be able to achieve it. I have behind me on my desk, that you can't see the other desk there, the reports to prove it. I'm not a talking head just for the sake of selling a product. We are backed and trialed and tested. So when I say to someone that there's an issue going on with soil and we can fix it, they need to know with all commercial confidence that I'm true to my word. Now we have all this greenwashing people out there with all their microbial stuff, and I see it all the time. I go and first thing I do is I check out the certifications. Most of them don't have any, or they have the one that you fill in the form and the bottom line is the credit card number and you buy it. All right? Plenty of those around. Then you see others that look at the back of the label. So on the back of my label, you'll see what these microbes, all that here is microbes. There's no water as such. It's not like water and you add something. This is them, their home, their juices, their environment. So down here is a list of all the things that it can create and what's actually in here. And you will see there's no kelp tea, there's no mineral rocks from Vietnam, there's no high levels of nitrogen or organophosphorus or all that sort of thing. But if you ever look at other products in the greenwashing machine, dare I say, you'll find that their microbes are dead because they don't have our world IP to be able to suspend them. So microbes only live for 36 to 48 hours outside of their natural environment, which is a soil particle or a plant cell. So this here, these are asleep and they're still living, which is why we have a breathable cap at the top with silicone lining. Now, this bottle can last for 10 years on a shelf that we now know. So
wow.
This is all special. We've got all the evidence of this. So when I see these new products coming in on social media, I do a quick dive. I look at their safety data sheet. I look at what else is in it. Usually it's the other things that go up the drinking structure of the plant. Remember, this is why this is so important. Why is it water soluble? What's in there? Oh, look at, I talk about this day in, day out, but it just, unfortunately, people with eyes will see and people with ears will hear, but a lot of people can't join the dots. An example of this is I was at a meeting as a guest speaker, and we were all in a cafe. And I just finished talking about what Bovera does to the human body and why it's important to ask what's in your milk. In fact, always try and get a coffee shop to support the Bovera-free milk so that they've got a little sign. You've got the oat, almond, now you've got the Bovera-free. They should be putting that on there, and so that you know where to go and you support that shop that's doing it. If it's supporting you, you need to support them. And this is what's happening, is that we're all taking things for granted. Those people who are stepping out, making the difference, we have to back them just like they're backing us. So I just finished doing a 15-minute talk on that very topic, and then the lady came over to take the coffee order, and they just placed their order, and I was the last one, and I said, what kind of milk, what's the brand names you're using? And the whole room just went, oh, because they forgot to ask. We just finished talking about it, and we're so programmed our programming is so precise, we don't even know what we're doing anymore. We just keep doing what we've always done because we don't join the dots. It's almost like we're incapable somewhere in there. And Marguerite, you of all people know perfectly well, you are fabulous in your tapping EFT work, and that's about changing patterns, changing neurology, making things better and workable and functional. Well, I think we might want to do one of those, set one up, because we are so blinded and deaf to the word. We hear the word, but we don't understand it in our functionality. We don't join it. That, to me, is the reason why we have a continual issue. Why is it that there are all these small farmer programs available, like the Rico Australia movement, and they're so hard to get off the ground? Because people are so used to going into, well, I'll just say it because it's all true. I'll go into Aldi and it's filled with food. The freezers are filled with food from France. I'll go into Coles, that their freezers are filled with food from China. I'll go into Woolies. Their seafood comes from Vietnam and Thailand. Well, I have to say to you, where's the Australian farmer? Where's their product going? Where are they selling their stock? I can't find it. And when I do, it's very little. You go to a little Saturday morning, markets downtown, on the Esplanade, or, I don't know, in this local mall. Do you really know where that comes from? I doubt it came from your local farmer. I bet you it was just from the markets where all the other stuff comes from. They just got up earlier, went to the markets, bagged it, and now they're selling it. Because the local farmer can't do it. I don't know where they're selling.
Yeah.
We're just so used to what we do. And when we had COVID for a little while, okay? And it made us think twice and adjusted some patterns. But we picked those patterns straight back up very soon. There's not much difference.
We're very addicted to comfort and convenience. I'm guilty of that as well. It's just those habits of, it's easier to go down the local shop and buy whatever is there. I do know that they source their stuff from the Brisbane markets, but I don't know where the Brisbane markets get their stuff from. So
well, it's probably one of those farmers. Yeah, it's probably one of those farmers where they have the high levels of NPK because they're trying to grow food to sell. Now, if you go to a farmer and
undoubtedly.
say, look, if you go to a farmer and say, I want high density nutrition, like we know, and we've had it proven, that if you grow broccoli microgreens with living microbes, you get a higher level of a compound called sulforaphane, and that kills cancer. But we won't see nutrient-dense food from farmers because, generally speaking, I'm being general here, because they don't have the living microbe, but they're not interested in that. They're interested in how long will it take to do, how much does it cost per acre, and how much labour do I need? Do I need someone in a tractor going day and night to get it out? Do I need hay? Do I need water?
And you can't blame the farmers because
Not at all.
have an economic reality that they need to feed their family. They need to be able to restore the crops for next year. They need the easiest, most efficient and cost-effective way to be able to grow and harvest their crop to be able to continue, because they're being ripped off by the big purchasers that come in and just screw them into the ground. So
and reject a lot of their stock. Like if you're a person who's on Instagram, there's a guy who, I don't know if you've seen him lately, he just goes out and he buys all that damaged stock and twisted and multicolored and whatever it is that is being rejected by the big food distribution channels, and he will buy it up and he flogs it off on Instagram, on his Instagram shop. And good for him. He does a great job. He helps the farmers.
Yeah, and it's sad that we've become so conditioned to everything having to look just perfect. Well, there's goodness in all those ones that don't look perfect either. And since when did we have perfect looking food? What's perfect anyway? So, look, I want to. It's just amazing. Your wealth of knowledge is incredible. So what I want to do is just direct people to yourearthfood.com, and for a limited time, you can get a 10% discount if you put in MV10 into the checkout. When you go to the checkout, that'll give you 10% off. There were which products they can get 10% off
It's
from?
it's the living microbes. It's the 1 litre and the 2 litre that we can get that out. And it's really good if you can get it now, because it'll be out for Christmas for the person who has everything, including that garden.
Okay. So, yes, so go and grab it straight away. And you're going to be introducing incredible nutrition and microbes into your soils. It's going to help improve your growing conditions and the quality of whatever it is that you're growing. And it doesn't have to just go, it can go in your pot plants, it can go on anything really, and help to, if you've got that home garden going, then it's really going to help to improve the quality of your food and the amount of food that you're producing. So, and we need to really start thinking very consciously about what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies, because if we want to live healthier for longer, and I just want to add that it was over 15, 20 years ago, I wrote a book on nutrition. It was actually about on weight loss, and it was about nutrition and eating the kind of, and taking, I was talking about taking supplements because of the fact that the farmers are only putting in about I can't even remember what the nutrients were, but they were actually putting 3 of the dozens of nutrients back in the soil, because it was those 3 nutrients that produced good looking produce. They didn't produce nutritional produce.
Yeah.
It produced good looking produce,
So,
and that's all they cared about. So all the other nutrients were not getting put back in the soil.
Yeah. So WHO just did a review of the food sold in the big food distribution channels in Victoria in 2022 to 23. And over the year, they found that 67% of that fresh food had no nutritional value. Here's another thing.
See, that's crazy, because I still talk to people who say, "Oh no, I eat lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, so I'm getting all my nutrition." I'm going, "Yeah, no, you're not."
No, because it's not grown with living microbes. Living microbes are the only entities on the planet that make trace minerals and selenium. So you're very much into the health world, Marguerite, and you know perfectly well that good health, if someone's not well, the first thing you look at is, okay, where's your zinc? What's your magnesium? What's your manganese? What's your blah, blah, blah? All your trace minerals. Well, guess what? They come from the soil. And if it's not coming from with living microbes, because they make the trace minerals and the selenium, well, then what are we eating? We're only eating biomass. So there was a study done in Cleveland Clinic in America last year. They had a pile of juvenile delinquents. Is that the word? Am I being woke here? I don't know. I don't know what the words are. But
No,
anyway.
we were using that 40 years ago. Juvenile
I know,
delinquents.
I'm old. Leave me alone. So they were terrors, and they were young, and they put them on a diet of the healthiest food they could find, and that included rich chocolate brown living soil based foods, grown foods, and they found that 97% turned into really lovely humans again.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. That is a whole other conversation, but it's very, yeah, exactly. It's a very, very telling conversation. So thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today, Bronwyn. Again, if you want to go to yourearthfood.com, go and check out the different products that Bronwyn has there to put on your healthy garden to produce healthy food, then go and do that. Go and check out whatever Bronwyn's doing. And if you can share this out, if you know of farmers and you want to share this information so they can get in touch with Bronwyn, so they can also start regenerating their soils. This is what we need to do now. We need to all work together so humanity can be thriving on this planet. And it's so good to hear, Bronwyn, that it can actually turn around as quickly as 9 months. That's insane. So if we do the right thing, we can turn this around really, really quickly. So that's really good to hear. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. I will see you again on another podcast very soon. Ciao for now.